Have you ever stopped to wonder if you might be a perfectionist? Let me ask you this. Have you ever felt bogged down by self-critique and feelings of I'm not good enough, or feelings of I'm not doing a good enough job? If you have, you might actually be a perfectionist. I'm Rachel LaForest, and somebody needs to hear this. It's a tricky thing because perfectionists hate to admit that that's what they are, because of course they don't want to sound like they have something bad about themselves. So stick around and listen to some ways that perfectionism might be showing up in your life, and some tips on how to feel better and live more free with more internal peace. I'm a perfectionist in recovery, and I host Perfectionists Anonymous meetings that are totally free and a safe space for you to come join with fellow perfectionists in recovery, share what's been coming up for you, and gain wisdom on how to live with more peace and more freedom inside yourself. So perfectionism can be very sneaky. It can actually show up as procrastination. In fact, perfectionism and procrastination tend to go hand in hand. This is because perfectionists feel like there's no point in even starting something if they can't do it perfectly, or if they can't be the best at it, or get the best result from it. So perfectionists tend to stop themselves before they start. Perfectionism can even show up as messiness, although a lot of the time it means someone who's hyper aware of cleanliness. It can equally show up as messiness because, to the procrastination point, a perfectionist won't start something if they feel like they can't finish it perfectly, and that can lead to messes piling up. So you might look around and think, oh, everything's a mess, there's no way I'm a perfectionist. But if you're telling yourself you're not doing a good enough job, or you're not going to be able to do something good enough, so why even do it, you might be a perfectionist. Perfectionism usually shows up as an attempt to control out of a fear for your safety. So to get psychobabble bullshit on it, but actual truth, sometime in childhood, you developed some neural networks or some brain wiring that was an attempt to keep you safe, or to keep you feeling safe, and likely involved the need to control for that feeling of survival. So how that manifests as you age is a constant feeling of fear driving a need to control everything around you just right, making everything perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. If you have a feeling like you don't like to be out of control, and you're very uncomfortable being out of control, in fact, it probably provokes high anxiety and fear, you might be a perfectionist. Many perfectionists are people pleasers because they also see relationship dynamics, romantic, friendship, familial, or otherwise, as another thing to strive for perfection within and to strive for control. And of course, if you can people please that other person into loving you and accepting you, then you'll feel perfect in that situation and you'll feel in control. And so if you're a people pleaser, you might be a perfectionist. And the sweet irony of this is that perfectionists turn inward on themselves with a very harsh, critical, even mean voice. So while on the outside, a perfectionist might be a total people pleaser, on the inside, they are anything but pleased with themselves. They are constantly in a battle to improve, but never reaching the mile marks they set for themselves. So if you're harsh to yourself internally, you might be a perfectionist. Here's a helpful exercise you can start with if you do feel like you're identifying as a perfectionist. Grab a paper and pen and journal about a recent experience where perfectionism reared its ugly head. Sometime recently when you felt out of control or grasping for control, or like something was really bothering you that it wasn't just right. Now, read back over what you wrote and try to figure out in that specific situation what was something you could control and what were the things you could not control. you'll likely find that the list of things you can control is very short, while the list of things you cannot control is quite long. And here's a bonus homework assignment for you. Be messy. Make a mess and celebrate it. This homework assignment is 2 parts. First, make a mess or be messy. This could be a physical mess within your home, like leaving some dirty dishes for once, or not sweeping as thoroughly as you usually do, or it could be making a mess, anything that you would normally perceive as a failure, such as not meeting a goal on time, or not calling back a friend because you were too tired. And then celebrate your mess. It's really important to celebrate because it confirms the new brain wiring that you're trying to reroute, which is that imperfection is okay or even good. So by celebrating, you tell your brain, I'm happy I did that thing I just did. In fact, I'm safe and I enjoyed it. So that could be a reward such as really good ice cream or a massage or telling a friend that you achieved this accomplishment, just something to reward yourself and celebrate your mess. So hopefully those were a few eye-opening realizations that maybe you are a perfectionist and tips on how to feel a little freer. I have one-on-one coaching available and a self-love program called Learn to Fucking Love Yourself, also known as Learn to Fly. And indeed, you will fly free if you take this program. It is designed to help you tactically practice self-love through different exercises every day for 15 days, including a day on acceptance, which is a huge part of recovering from perfectionism. Accepting yourself where you're at and letting good enough be good enough. So check the links below if you're interested in working with me one-on-one or taking my self-love program, Learn to Fly. And in closing, I would like to recite the Perfectionists Anonymous prayer that I wrote. So feel free to follow along with the lyrics on the screen. Hearing these words can be really helpful if you want to start your recovery. I am a perfectionist in recovery. I choose to grant myself internal peace. I recognize all that I cannot control and release my rigid expectations. I surrender to living life as an experiment. I accept myself, and I accept that there is no such thing as perfect. I bless my mess. You can find the link to Perfectionists Anonymous below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, give me a subscribe. I've got more good stuff coming for you. I don't know why I pointed that way. Nothing ever exists that way, but I'm gonna let it be a mess because anti-perfection is the goal. And if this wasn't helpful to you, then please pass it along because somebody needs to hear this.